Hey, I'm Alex, I'm 19, and lately, life's been pretty rough. If you're into stories about dealing with some intense family issues, stick around, you won't want to miss this. 3 years ago, my mom passed away suddenly in a car accident. My dad and I were heartbroken. My older sister, Emma, was already in college, so it was just me and dad left at home, trying to cope. It was hard, but we managed to support each other. Then, about a year ago, Dad started dating a woman named Stephanie. At first, I was okay with it. Dad seemed happy, and Stephanie seemed nice enough. Alex, honey, how was school today? Stephanie asked in this overly sweet voice as I walked through the door. Fine, I mumbled, heading to my room. Now, Alex, Dad said, don't be rude to your stepmother. The word stepmother still made me feel weird. I forced a smile and replied, sorry, school was fine. Stephanie, lots of homework. You look tired, sweetie, are you okay? She asked, looking concerned, but I couldn't tell if she was being genuine. I'm fine, just stressed about exams, I said, gripping my backpack tighter. Dad looked at me, worried. Maybe you should cut back on some of your activities if school's too much. It's not too much, Dad, I can handle it, I insisted. Stephanie stepped closer and lowered her voice. Alex, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to admit it. We're here to help. I just nodded, afraid I'd say something I'd regret. The truth was, I wasn't just stressed, I'd been dealing with depression for months. Dr. Martinez, my psychiatrist, had been helping me, and the antidepressants she prescribed were starting to work. But Stephanie had been hinting that maybe I was overreacting, as if my depression wasn't real. Later that night, I called my sister Emma. Hey, little bro, how's it going? Not great, Stephanie's at it again. What did she do this time? It's more what she doesn't do. She keeps suggesting I'm exaggerating about my depression, and now Dad's starting to believe her. Emma's voice grew firm. Alex, listen to me, you know what you're going through, don't let them make you doubt yourself. I know, it's just hard. I miss Mom, she would have understood. I miss her too, kiddo. Look, I'm coming home next weekend. We'll talk more then, okay? After hanging up, I stared at the ceiling, thinking about Mom and wondering what she'd think of all this, about Stephanie, and about Dad. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. Yeah? Dad poked his head in. Hey, can we talk? I nodded, sitting up. He sat on the edge of my bed, looking uncomfortable. Alex, Stephanie and I are worried about you. We think you might be putting too much pressure on yourself with school, and this depression stuff. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dad, it's not just talk. Dr. Martinez diagnosed me. The meds are helping, I said. He shook his head. I'm not sure about those pills. Alex, Stephanie's been researching, and she thinks. Stephanie's not a doctor, Dad, I interrupted. Don't raise your voice at me, young man, Dad warned. We're just trying to help. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I know, Dad, but I need you to trust me on this, and trust Dr. Martinez, too. He sighed, standing up. Just think about what I said, okay? When I came home for summer break, I hoped things would get better, but as soon as I walked through the door, I felt the tension. Welcome home, sweetie, Stephanie said with a sugary sweet tone, but her eyes were cold. We've missed you so much. Thanks, I mumbled, hauling my bags upstairs. That first week back was rough. Stephanie was always there, watching, commenting. You look so tired. Alex, are you sure college isn't too much for you? I'm fine, Stephanie, just readjusting to being home, I'd say, but her questions didn't stop. Every day, she made little comments about how I looked or acted. It was driving me crazy. Then one night, everything came crashing down. I was in the kitchen grabbing a snack when Stephanie cornered me. Alex, we need to talk about your condition. I tensed up. What about it? Well, your father and I have been talking, and we're worried you might be exaggerating your symptoms for attention. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Exaggerating? Are you kidding me? Now, there's no need to get defensive, she said. We're just concerned. You don't understand anything about what I'm going through, I yelled. Dad walked in, frowning. What's all this shouting about? Stephanie turned to him, tears in her eyes. Oh, honey, I was just trying to talk to Alex about his depression, and he blew up at me. That's not what happened, I shouted. She accused me of faking it. Dad's face turned cold. Alex, that's enough. Stephanie's just trying to help. I stormed off to my room, slamming the door. My head was pounding, so I reached for my meds, only to realize the bottle wasn't there. Panicking, I tore my room apart, but I couldn't find it. I rushed back out. Where are my antidepressants? Stephanie and Dad exchanged a look. Alex, Stephanie said slowly, we got rid of them, for your own good. The room spun. You what? Son, we think it's best if you try to handle this without medication, Dad added. You can't do that, they were prescribed by my doctor. A doctor who clearly doesn't understand what you really need, Stephanie interjected. Dad, please, don't let her do this, but Dad just shook his head. I think Stephanie's right, Alex, you need to learn to cope without pills. The next few days were unbearable without my meds. I barely left my room, couldn't eat, and couldn't sleep. When Emma came home and saw me, she knew something was wrong. Alex, what's going on? She asked, looking alarmed. I broke down and told her everything. Her face darkened as I spoke. We're fixing this, now. She pulled out her phone. While Emma confronted Dad and Stephanie, I slipped out. Jake was waiting in his car around the corner. You okay, man? He asked as I slumped into the passenger seat. Not really, but I will be. Jake drove me straight to Dr. Martinez's office. When she heard what happened, she was furious. This is completely unacceptable, she fumed, writing out an emergency prescription. What they've done is dangerous and illegal. As we left the pharmacy, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Hello? Alex, it's your Uncle Robert. I hadn't heard from him in years. Uncle Rob, what's up? I've been trying to reach your dad, but he's not answering. Is everything okay there? I hesitated. Not really, Uncle Rob. Things are pretty messed up. He paused. Tell me everything, kid. As I talked, I felt a small glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things could change. After all that happened, I couldn't stay at home. Jake's family took me in without asking questions. You can stay as long as you need, Alex, Jake's mom said, giving my shoulder a squeeze. Meanwhile, Emma was determined. We're going to expose Stephanie for the snake she is, she declared, pacing around Jake's living room. But how? I asked, feeling hopeless. Jake grinned. We start digging. Everyone's got skeletons in their closet. We spent days searching social media, making calls, following every lead. Uncle Robert was a lifesaver, using his skills as a private investigator. I've got contacts who can help, he said over the phone. This woman's got a past, all right. During all this, I kept seeing Dr. Martinez. She was helping me learn to manage my emotions without meds until we could sort out my prescription. Deep breaths. Alex, she reminded me, you're stronger than you know. Weeks passed, then Uncle Robert called with a bombshell. Kid, you better sit down for this. Stephanie wasn't just manipulative, Uncle Robert said seriously. She's a con artist. 3 previous marriages, all ending in divorce after she drained their bank accounts. There are even reports of child neglect from her second marriage. I stared in shock at the documents Uncle Robert had sent. Wow. Emma was furious. We've got her. Dad has to believe this. But when we showed Dad everything we'd found, he shut us down. This is ridiculous, he snapped. You're just trying to drive a wedge between me and Stephanie. I don't want to hear any more of this nonsense. Things only got worse from there. Somehow, Stephanie found out about our investigation, and she started spreading rumors around town. Suddenly, I was labeled as the unstable kid who was supposedly making up lies about his stepmother. I hit rock bottom. One night, sitting alone in Jake's guest room, I even thought about dropping out of college. I can't do this, I told Jake, my voice breaking. Yes, you can, he insisted. We're not letting her win. Then, just when things couldn't get any crazier, my grandmother showed up out of the blue. Nana? I said in disbelief as she walked into Jake's house. Oh, my sweet boy, she said, pulling me into a hug. I came as soon as I heard what was going on. Having Nana there felt like a breath of fresh air. She didn't try to fix everything or offer empty advice, she just listened. One evening, she looked at me and said, "You remind me so much of your mother." She never backed down from a fight, either. Those words lit a fire in me. I wasn't going to give up. Not now, not ever. Then, just as I started to feel hopeful again, Uncle Robert called with news that changed everything. "Alex, I've been digging into Stephanie's current job," he said, his voice tense. "She's been embezzling money from her company, serious fraud." I was stunned. This was the smoking gun we needed. What do we do now? I asked, my heart racing. We take her down, kid, Uncle Robert replied, once and for all. With that, Emma, Jake, and I spent days planning our next move. We need to do this right, Emma insisted, no room for error. We gathered all the evidence, financial records, witness statements, everything. Then we made our move. I'll never forget the feeling of walking into Stephanie's workplace with a folder in hand, my heart pounding. We need to speak with your CFO, Emma said calmly, it's urgent. What happened next was a whirlwind. Stephanie's employer was shocked, then furious. They called the police immediately. Watching Stephanie get led away in handcuffs felt surreal. This is all a misunderstanding, she cried, but it was over. Stephanie shrieked as they took her away, her mask finally slipping. Dad showed up at the police station, looking completely stunned. Alex, what's going on? They're saying. Stephanie. It's all true, Dad, I replied, feeling strangely calm. Everything we tried to tell you. The look on his face when he realized how wrong he'd been, I'll never forget it. Later, at Jake's house, Dad tried to apologize. Son, I'm so sorry, I should have listened to you. Can we try to fix this? Part of me wanted to say yes, to have my dad back, but another part of me knew better. I'm sorry, Dad, but no, I need to focus on healing and on myself. His face fell, but I held my ground. Years of therapy had taught me the importance of setting boundaries. The trial was hard, testifying against Stephanie, reliving everything she'd done, but seeing her face as the verdict was read was worth it, guilty on all counts. As she was taken away, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. It was finally over. Life after wasn't easy. Dad became somewhat of an outcast. People in our town whispered about how he had enabled Stephanie and ignored his own son. Part of me felt sorry for him, but I also knew these were the consequences of his choices. Returning to college was strange. In a small town, news spreads fast. People knew bits and pieces of what had happened, but I kept my head up, focusing on my studies and my mental health. Dr. Martinez was proud. You've shown incredible resilience, Alex, she said during a session. For the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely proud of myself too. Question for you, if you were in my position, would you forgive a parent for choosing someone toxic over you and doubting your struggles? Or do you think keeping strong boundaries is the healthier choice? Share your thoughts below. Your experiences might help others going through similar situations. If you found this story meaningful, consider giving it a like. It helps get stories about overcoming toxic relationships and mental health struggles out there. And if you want to hear more, hit subscribe. Together, we can break the silence around family betrayal and mental health challenges. Remember, your mental health is important, and you deserve support. Thanks for being part of this community.